Even though Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system with an incredibly harsh atmosphere, building a cloud city on it was considered a feasible idea back then. And that's just one crazy idea that never turned into reality. From sci-fi technology to a secret space defense system, many ideas have had their run since the dawn of space exploration. But were all of them absolutely impossible and ridiculous? Back in the day, scientists turned to something that seemed realistic at the time: sending tardigrades to Mars. On paper, it looked very much like an achievable goal. Tardigrades, on their part, are known as the most durable and robust organisms on Earth, and they probably have what it takes to withstand the harsh and unforgiving climate condition on the Red Planet. But somehow the concept of sending tardigrades to space didn't see the light of day simply because the mission that would have seen a Russian Soyuz spacecraft deliver the package failed. And that put an end to all the suggestions of creating a civilization of tardigrades on Mars, and so far, they've not been revived. Maybe it's all for good though, because the planet might contain bacteria already. In fact, Mars is a Category 5 planet when it comes to the Planetary Protection Catalog, meaning it has a potential to harbor life. Therefore, every mission is planned very carefully. The last thing we'd want to do is contaminate it, because that may also jeopardize our plans to relocate outside Earth someday. Elon Musk recently discussed the idea of powering rockets with nuclear energy. However, the idea has been around since the 1950s. Nuclear energy was gaining traction at the time, and scientists were quick to throw in the idea of a nuclear rocket booster. Things moved quickly as NASA designed Nerva, a nuclear-powered spacecraft that was meant to transport astronauts to a lunar base or to Mars. The 22-foot rocket produced a massive 50,000 pounds of thrust during testing at Los Alamos in 1966, which was a remarkable achievement at the time. Nerva demonstrated that nuclear thermal rocket engines were a feasible and reliable tool for space exploration, and at the end of 1968, Space Nuclear Propulsion Office deemed that the latest Nerva engine met the requirements for a human mission to Mars. Although the engines were built and tested as much as possible with flight-certified components, and it was deemed ready for integration into a spacecraft, they never flew in space. One thing that everyone from all over the world seems to agree on is that our current space transportation systems are too slow for the huge ambitions we have to colonize other planets and possibly explore territories beyond our solar system. The basic concepts underlying a photon-propelled sail propulsion system were developed by Eugene Sanger and the Hungarian physicist György Marx. The advantage of light sail propulsion is that the vehicle does not carry either the energy source or the reaction mass for propulsion, and hence the limitations of the Tsiolkovsky rocket equation to achieving high velocities are avoided. However, the concept couldn't be carried out back in the days. The upcoming cosmic sail ships that target Proxima Centauri under the Breakthrough Starshot project will be based upon the design mentioned above. In a bid to explore more options for habitable planets, scientists moved quickly to see if we could build a city within the clouds of Venus. But why live among the clouds? Well, the surface of Venus is best described as a hellscape, but surprisingly, the planet's atmosphere is quite hospitable. Or so they thought. And that's why scientists back in the day proposed the cloud city idea. However, the temperature on Venus is equivalent to a spring day here on Earth. That only applies if you're 30 miles above its surface. The atmosphere of the planet is 467 degrees Celsius, and the average surface pressure is 93 bars, the same as 900 meters underwater here on Earth. Venus has a thick, toxic atmosphere filled with carbon dioxide and is perpetually shrouded in thick, yellowish clouds of sulfuric acid that trap heat. Given the stated above, no wonder the plans of building a cloud city there have been abandoned. During his tenure as the 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush showed great interest in the activities of NASA in space. He was also quite vocal about his vision for the agency and the heavyweight project he wanted the United States to undertake in space. One of them was to build a permanent human base on the moon that would be called the Neil A. Armstrong Lunar Outpost. The plan was to have astronauts carry out lunar missions lasting up to 6 months on the base, like it's done on the ISS. Scientists even proposed that the base would be located near a pole to reduce radiation. However, the engineers didn't have to implement that suggestion because the project was abandoned altogether. But maybe not for long, as the Artemis moon mission might be capable of reaching this goal after 2030. As part of the Apollo program, NASA contacted General Motors in 1963 to produce a lunar exploration vehicle, more like a scientific lab on wheels that could house astronauts for weeks. The American automaker eventually built a prototype powered by a Chevrolet Corvair engine, but unfortunately it never touched down on the moon. Instead, the only existing prototype was deposited at the U.S. Geological Survey, where it has been used for different projects across the Southwest deserts. You really wouldn't expect to find a telescope on the moon, but scientists were seriously considering the possibility of placing a scientific spyglass out there. The prospect was quite interesting because the moon's atmosphere is ultra-thin, which means clearer vision and a safe place for the instrument. A few telescope concepts have been proposed, already including one with a liquid mirror, but so far none of them have made it into production. But that's obvious from our point of view after many decades. Nowadays, it's clear that the project would be useless and only a waste of money. The success of the Apollo program encouraged NASA to pursue a space habitat project big enough to accommodate 10,000 people. The idea was to have them live across different rotating stations where centrifugal force would be used to stimulate the feeling of gravity, and residents would be able to live normally like we do on Earth. The plan was to have them grow their own food using soil from the moon and generate electricity through solar energy obtained from the sun. Other basic amenities that were accounted for include purified water, oxygen, schools, and hospitals. In the end, it was all fantasy, and NASA failed to follow up with this hugely ambitious project. However, 21st century scientists and tech billionaires like Elon Musk are already looking to revise that plan, and who knows, we might be having a human colony in space within a few years. While NASA was contemplating the idea of space colonies, the British were mulling the idea of sending humans outside our solar system using nuclear propulsion. Obviously, that didn't work out. Many years later, NASA attempted to take the concept to the next stage by sending an unmanned spacecraft to Alpha Centauri, but sadly, the project didn't make it past the planning stages. As of 2022, 5 uncrewed spacecraft have achieved the escape velocity required to leave the solar system, but they won't bump into another star for tens of thousands of years because of their speed. Maybe breakthrough starshot project will save the day later on. So far, all of our efforts to create a human colonization on Mars has failed, but it hasn't stopped scientists from exploring the chances of creating an interplanetary internet system to transmit data between the Red Planet and Earth. In the end, though, the project was cancelled not for audacity, but redundancy. It was found that Mars Express and Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter had more than enough communications equipment to handle the job. Our Earth comes under attack from asteroids of different sizes every day, and NASA has openly admitted that it might be forced to nuke one of these rocky celestial elements if they ever travel too close to us in a manner that threatens our existence. Surprisingly, we've seen a few asteroids have popped out of the sky in the last couple of years, including the one that caused chaos in Russia in 2014. That's not to say NASA doesn't have technological capacity to destroy asteroids within and outside space, but somehow the agency has refused to do it. And that makes you wonder if NASA's promise to protect the world from asteroids is legitimate.